Well, at the start of the pandemic, President Cyril Ramaphosa's handling of the crisis had the approval of most South Africans. But as the weeks and months have passed, his ratings have gone down from as high as 85% at the beginning to 61%. And it's much the same as his popularity pre-COVID-19. The University of Johannesburg and the Human Sciences Research Council shared these and other outcomes of their online survey. For more on this, we're joined by UJ's Professor Narnia Bohler-Muller. Good evening, Prof, and thank you so much for your time tonight. Was it surprising to see the changes in how people are responding and perceiving President Cyril Ramaphosa?
I just want to correct you. I'm from the Human Sciences Research Council. Sorry about that.
Fantastic. No problem. You can go ahead.
In partnership with the University of Johannesburg. No, it's not a surprise. I think when COVID hit, people were really grateful that the president did the right thing, but really didn't realize how long this would last or how serious it would be. So for us, it isn't that surprising that his confidence level has dropped during this time. I mean, it's been a 3-month period. But it's the same, or actually just a little bit higher than his popularity was or trust in him was prior to COVID. So we've just really gone back to where we were. And of course, people became very angry and frustrated during this time as well. And that has affected their trust in the president, and it's affected their trust in national government as well.
What I'm also finding interesting is how you've managed to break down the numbers among the different demographics according to race. And of course, depending on which one one is looking at, the numbers drop down quite dramatically.
Yes, they do, and it's predominantly amongst the white population that popularity has taken a nosedive. In the rural areas, trust in the president is still relatively high, as well as ANC supporters and members of the black community. But definitely people who declare themselves DA supporters, as well as whites, the trust has really plummeted there.
Let's talk about those who are, how people rather are responding to the lockdown regulations. How compliant have people been?
Well, the impression of most people is that compliance is not sufficient. More than 70% have indicated that compliance is not sufficient. And there's a problem with that, especially with mask wearing. About 73% of South Africans go out with their mask on every day. That sounds like a very high percentage, but the World Health Organization has said it's got to be over 80% to prevent the spread of the virus. And we're not there. So that is quite worrying in terms of compliance. We didn't ask many questions around social distancing, but people are leaving their houses now, especially since it's level 2. But this part of the survey was conducted at the end of level 3.
I'm also seeing that you were asking people which parties they belonged to, especially when it came to the mask wearing, and you've aggregated it according to party supporters. What was the thinking behind that?
It was curiosity more than anything else. And there were interesting findings. We find that supporters of the ANC or self-declared supporters of the ANC are have far more of a tendency to wear masks, as well as the DA. Interestingly enough, the supporters who are less likely to wear masks when going out are the EFF. I'll tell you the reason why, though, I think, is that members of the EFF are young, and young people are far less likely to comply because they're not that afraid of this virus.
We've had rather many researchers talk about the difficulty of collecting data during this time, and of course the different things that need to be taken into account about the accuracy of what people say over the phone than what they would say in person. Speak to me then about how these surveys were conducted and also some of the biases that you're factoring in.
Okay, so the surveys were not conducted by telephone. They were conducted on an online platform called Moya Messenger. It's very similar to WhatsApp, and it's data-free. So that's the reason why we chose this in particular, this platform in particular, because it is data-free. However, we also circulated the link. So we used Moya as a platform, but not only members of the Moya app answered the survey questionnaires, because the survey was circulated widely to all our networks. And you'll see that we have quite a sufficient number, for example, of people living in informal settlements who answered the survey. So one has to take care there. There's a lot of literature lately that states that people are more likely to tell the truth when they're not speaking to you face to face. I'm not sure about the telephone. And we had a number of people who started the survey but didn't complete it. But we had 2,500 completed surveys. Which is a large sample to begin with, but then we had some weighting done by former Statistician General Dr. Mark Orkin. So we did look at the weighting to ensure that whatever we found was as accurate as it could possibly be and socially significant.
Professor Narnia Bohler-Muller, let's leave it there for tonight. And of course, she is with the Human Sciences Research Council.